is a very complex game.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news both locally and internationally. Apple has lost its position as the most valuable firm amid tech sellers. We also explore different innovations by our very own young innovators. Make sure you don't miss. Tune in every Monday at 10:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya jogging kwa simu yako, bonyeza *811 *758#.
Good morning, class.
Good morning, Mr. Kipto.
Now I want you to write a composition using the word jogging.
Teacher, please give us spelling for the word jogging.
Sijasema jog ile jog ya kunyongwa. Hapana. Ninasema jogging. Na sijasema jog ile nye unasema jog ya kukimbia ya marathon. Ama ile jog ingine ile jog ya television ya kucheka. Sijasema hiyo jogging. Na maanisha jogging your brain ile kukimbiza akili ya changamoto. Write a composition using the word jogging.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza *811 *758#. *811 *758#.
If you are a holder of any unclaimed financial assets, surrender all unclaimed financial assets in your possession to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, today without having to pay interest or penalties. Take advantage of the Finance Act 2022 moratorium on penalties and interests. For more information, visit www.ufaa.go.ke/holders. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
The legends and familiar charms will grace KBC once again.
Well, it's the 3rd day of October, the year of the Lord 2020. Light rains and a gentle breeze in Nairobi. From wherever you're watching us in Kenya and around the world, good evening. And my name is Tom Boya, top in this live broadcast. GMO is here. Government lifts ban on open cultivation of genetically modified crops. Ebola alert. Government urged to tighten surveillance along the Western Transport Corridor. And observe traffic rules. Police impound matatu and arrest crew for making a joke of traffic laws. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Our socials at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at Tomboya24. A little later on, we will be talking to Joel Ochieng from the University of Nairobi, a researcher. He will be telling us the import of the cabinet lifting of the ban to open cultivation of GMOs. So make sure you stay with us. Of course, it's 48 days to go to the 2022 FIFA World Cup. That's going to take place in Qatar. We're inviting you to join us for an exhilarating experience from the world's greatest soccer extravaganza. It's going to start from the date 20th of November, running all the way to the 18th of December. World Cup right here on KBC. You don't want to miss all that. So let's get straight into our top story of the day. The government has lifted the ban on open cultivation of genetically modified crops and importation of food crops as well as animal feeds. A cabinet memo says that it is part of the measures taken by government to deal with the long-term effects of climate change that has left millions of Kenyans in dire need of relief food attributed to prolonged drought. That report opens our coverage tonight.
Despite establishing a fully fledged biosafety authority to regulate the import and production of GMO foods, Kenya has never allowed GMO foods in the market, with the cabinet banning GMOs in 2012. Local millers have been grappling with pricey maize imports due to scarcity of non-GMO maize and cereals in the international market. The high cost of non-GMO maize has been passed on to consumers, with a 2 kg packet of flour retailing at a high of 200 shillings in Kenya. In what the government says is a long-term solution to deal with the food insecurity in Kenya, the cabinet has lifted the 2012 ban on GMO crop in the country. While lifting the ban, the government says it has considered various expert reports from the Kenya National Biosafety Authority, World Health Organization, and the Food and Agriculture Organization. Part of the cabinet dispatch read, quote, "In accordance with the recommendation of the task force review matters relating to genetically modified foods and safety in fidelity with the guidelines of the National Biosafety Authority on all applicable international treaties, including the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety, Cabinet vacates its earlier decision of 8th November 2012 prohibiting the open cultivation of genetically modified crops and the importation of food crops and animal feeds produced by biotechnology innovations." End of quote. The move comes just months after the government allowed feed manufacturers to import yellow maize with traces of GMO after feed millers failed to import a single non-GMO grain due to scarcity in the international market. Lifting of the GMO ban follows a 2019 decision by the cabinet allowing commercialization of BT cotton in the country as the government seeks to revitalize the textile and apparel industry. Kenya becomes the 5th country in Africa after South Africa, Sudan, Burkina Faso and Cameroon to approve use of GMOs. Benson Ruba reporting for Prime Edition.
Well, of course, we're going to have a discussion with Joel Ochieng from the University of Nairobi, a researcher on what the import of that decision is. So do stay with us just right after this story. Let's look at this item first. Preparations of the national examinations for grade 6, class 8 and form 4, which are scheduled to take place between the 28th of November 2022 and the 23rd of December are on course. This was reaffirmed Monday during a cabinet meeting of outgoing cabinet secretaries chaired by President William Ruto. This is the second such meeting the president has held with outgoing cabinet secretaries. The president was also briefed on the ongoing reforms to attain universal health coverage.
Good morning. How are you? Good.
President William Ruto Monday held his second cabinet meeting after being sworn in. During the meeting with cabinet secretaries in the former President Uhuru Kenyatta's regime, the president was briefed on the preparedness of the country to ensure smooth running of 2022 national exams scheduled to be administered between 28th November and 23rd December for grade 6, class 8 and form 4. And also the commencement of the normal school calendar in January 2023. In order to realize universal health coverage, the cabinet reaffirmed on the need for all Kenyans to contribute towards the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF. The administration also endorsed the proposed changes on the National Social Security Fund as they are geared towards reinforcing it. The cabinet also noting progress being made to fully establish the 5th administration, a process that will conclude with the appointments of the cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries and other senior ranks of the national executive by the president. For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Well, we're now joined by our guest, Joel Ochieng, who is the program leader, agricultural biotechnology at the University of Nairobi. Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Ochieng. The government lifting that ban on the open cultivation of GMOs. Before even you tell me what the import of that decision is, how did we get there in the first place?
Well,
what triggered that ban?
The ban was imposed by the government through the cabinet in 2012.
In 2012.
And this was because of an erroneous publication, a single erroneous publication by a team of French scientists that showed at that time that GMO could cause cancer. But a rejoinder to that, and it's important to explain to Kenyans, was that Jenny Seralini, the author, the main author of the publication, has been misunderstood. And I'm very sad that people cannot read basic English. Seralini said that GMO maize, at that time he was using what we call MON 810, which is Roundup tolerant maize variety.
What does that mean to somebody who's watching from Marsabit?
It means,
who understands basic...
it means that farmers, even people without necessarily high level of education, are aware of what Roundup is. It's a herbicide that is used commonly in Kenyan farms to kill weeds.
To kill weeds.
Now, what happens is that this maize has been engineered in a way that it can tolerate this weed killer. So you come and spray the whole farm, everything else dies, all the weeds die, but the maize remains standing because it's Roundup tolerant.
Okay.
Now, Seralini and his team used this maize, and it was very clear that in his experiment, GMO is not the cause of the tumors that he observed, or that he purports to have observed. That those tumors were caused by the herbicide itself, not the herbicide-tolerant maize per se. And we choose to just misunderstand deliberately, and to make it clear to you, the ban was based on business interests, not any health fear.
Okay. Okay, and thanks for really opening that up, because I think it's important. Sometimes people wonder what is in the back end.
Yes.
Now it has been lifted. Tell me what the import of that decision to lift is.
We are very, very happy that we have a working president. When I use the word working, I mean somebody who wants to fix the economy, wants to fix all manner of things within the shortest time possible. Now, lifting the ban on GMO cultivation or importation has very specific ramifications on the Kenyan economy. And we are talking from data, not just shouting, saying good, bad. We have data. We conducted a study in 2017, which is published and you can access it online, that showed that blocking importation of GMO, or generally blocking importation of cereals, major cereals, caused a spike in food prices. It's a published issue.
Okay.
And so, by removing the ban, or lifting the ban, the president is purposefully intending to lower the food prices. You're aware that Kenyans are suffering.
Okay.
In the shortest term, this cannot be solved by just putting fertilizer in agricultural systems. It will take time before we harvest the new crop that has been cultivated using the fertilizer.
Okay.
So, what about now? Do we die fast and wait for the harvest? That's what the president considered.
So this helps even in the here, in fact, the now.
It will instantly lower the food prices.
Okay. Okay.
Immediately there's a new batch of import.
Okay.
It means maize, for example, the major cereal in Kenya, which is used to 90%, will retail at a lower price, because our data showed that maize was far cheaper from countries that predominantly grow GM maize compared to the ones that don't. An example is Ecuador, Brazil, USA, South Africa, Malawi. The list is endless. And Malawi is just here in Kenya. South Africa, not in Kenya, in Africa. South Africa is in Africa. So we should not say this is happening only in the West. It's happening here in Africa.
It's happening here in Africa.
And even us, we have imported GMO before, in 2011, following an order from the president, Mwai Kibaki, the former president, Mwai Kibaki. And that was supported in the parliament and also in the cabinet. We imported GMO into Kenya.
Into Kenya.
We fed on it. We never died. People in the US have fed on it. They have never died. People everywhere have fed on it. They have never died. And in any case, you should be aware that Kenyans are using Roundup Ready herbicide on non-GMO farms.
For example?
Kenyans, you can go walk into Agrovet and buy it. I've even bought one. That is the ingredient that Seralini claimed was causing tumors, not GMO itself inherently.
So let me ask you.
Yes.
Seralini writes an article. It was probably in a medical journal somewhere.
It was, yes.
And a whole cabinet of a respectable country like Kenya makes a decision based on that journal.
And before I comment on that, that same publication was withdrawn after it was found to have errors.
When was it withdrawn?
It was withdrawn barely 8 months later.
Barely 8 months later?
Yes. And the most important thing, Seralini has published another one in 2015 in a more prestigious journal, clarifying that the one that led to our putting of a ban, was erroneously resulting from contamination in the feed. Environmental contamination of the feed.
Fine. The decision has been made. And they ratified at cabinet level. So, in terms of food security, what does it say?
Now, first thing, using, for example, BT maize, that is one of the varieties of GM maize. You know, the GMO is not just one thing. There are several formulations. So the BT one is made from a natural bacterium that lives in the soil, that we eat in our vegetables, that even our ladies who have some cravings for rocks use all the time. This bacterium is in your tummy right now as you talk. You don't die out of that. And so
it's what they call the good bacteria.
Yes, it's the good bacterium.
The one that's also found in milk that has fermented.
No, not really.
Not really. That's
different.
Right.
But it's a family of the
it
good
falls
bacteria.
under that class of good bacteria.
So BT maize is made from that. And what happens is that when you grow BT maize, it protects the maize from insect borers, the one causing aflatoxin. Maybe you didn't know that. When the stem borers venture into the maize kernel or the cob, they open it up for fungal infection. And so you get aflatoxin much easily than if it's not affected. And stem borers result up to 60% losses to farmers. So we are looking at food security, we are looking at food safety.
Both security and safety.
Yes, food security. Of course, food security means safety, availability, affordability, products, all manner of things.
Tell me,
yes.
I know there is the National Biosafety Authority.
We do have it, yes.
Okay, and we know its role of regulation.
Now, before we go there, the Kenyans, I need to tell them that GM ingredient of any type, whether it's maize or anything else, is clearly labeled by our laws, the labeling regulations. Which is part of the Biosafety Act 2019, 209. Labeling regulation is one of them. There are 4 regulations that operationalize the act. Now, the labeling regulation defines that you must label GM products of any type and from anywhere, so that Kenyans can have informed choice. They can decide whether I want to consume GMO, which is very safe, or no, I don't want it, for whatever reasons, and you take the other one. Yes, just like yogurt, we have Delamere and others. You can choose the one you want. So you're not going to be imposed. It's not going to be imposed on you that you must take this one. Yes.
So what about the things that we're importing? How safe are they?
What things?
Because we're opening up that space, isn't it?
Yes.
So
now scientists prepare certain things using international protocol. So GMO that has been made by somebody in Brazil, an expert like myself, should be equally as safe as the one we make here. And the reason is that we have international protocol of doing it. So just like when you import a vehicle from Japan, it has to be inspected at the port of origin. And the JIAA is recognized in Kenya as equally competent, and so they don't have to inspect it here. So when Brazil exports maize to Kenya, which is GM ingredient, or which has whatever level of GM ingredient, they have a competent authority like ours. And if you want, we can test it again. There's no problem. So safety is assured.
Safety is assured. I asked that because...
And we have an authority that is earning salaries the whole year around. National Biosafety Authority. With competent people.
And you're also familiar.
And the current CEO is a respected expert.
You're also familiar that we have certain products on the shelves that had the seal of Bureau of Standard that were recalled. So, you know, sometimes...
You mean GMO things or other things?
No. I mean, we were talking about whether that body that is meant to regulate has that muscle to ensure that it does its functions to the satisfaction of the Kenyans who are even listening to this program.
And as you know, meat is inspected every morning. Meat that we take in butcheries. The inspectors of meat inspect daily. Does it mean that people have been dying yesterday so that they continue inspecting tomorrow? It's just a regulation that we have to assure safety of Kenyans. It doesn't necessarily connote that this thing is so dangerous. Not necessarily. Just that people have a right to safety, and the government's role is to assure that safety.
Okay.
And that's why we have the authority in place.
Okay, as you conclude, there's a deep sense of wanting it done yesterday rather than tomorrow. You know, after this 10-year gap that was there.
Yes.
What would you tell somebody who has that question in his mind? So why do we
As to why now?
Why now, and why do we appear to be?
First of all, you are aware that the country, as we talk now, is in crisis.
Yeah.
Ravaging famine, hunger, drought. Of course, drought is hunger is a consequence of drought and other things.
Yeah.
So we are in a crisis moment.
Yeah.
And that has only precipitated the lifting of the ban. But in any case, the president himself is an expert. He holds PhD.
In zoology?
No.
Botany?
No, my friend. Plant ecology.
Plant ecology.
But whichever way, you know, these things are related.
Yeah.
So now we are talking about an expert who himself, even without me saying anything, understands and knows that this thing is not dangerous in any way.
Yeah.
So now, and again, he is hell-bent on supporting the economy and not even supporting, reviving, because it's on the knees at the moment. So we're talking about a government that has come in with the energy.
Okay.
Wants to fix things.
All right.
We will support them fully.
I want to thank you, Joel Ochieng, for coming through, a GMO expert from the University of Nairobi, talking to us and explaining the imports of that cabinet lifting of the open cultivation of GMOs. We're going to take a short break at this point. We'll be back. Do stay with us.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
His last week's performance at the Allianz Francaise during the Showcase Wednesday was one of the most anticipated, as it was his first ever performance as a secular artist.
And the Grammy goes to... Oh, come on, twice as tall, Burna Boy.
If I broke, now my business. This is a big win for my generation of Africans all over the world. And this should be a lesson to every African out there.
Nafanya good music kama nilivyosema. Na trust melodists, na trust my talent, na kazi nayoifanya. Only that.
Tusumbua huku social media vile wana date, but of course we knew it was.
Are you sure these two are not dating?
What do you
Come
mean?
on.
They are not. It was just for the song.
I never thought there come a day Ninga fall in love like this. I never thought that come a day.
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Welcome back, our socials at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at Tomboya24. Moving on, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers want government to heighten surveillance along common borders with Uganda and the Western Transport Corridor to minimize the possibility of an Ebola outbreak. Union officials led by Chairman Peterson Wachira and the Secretary General George Kibore are raising concerns over the general preparedness of the country and counties along the Western Transport Corridor deemed as most at risk. The leaders spoke as they inspected counties' preparedness to tackle the virus.
As neighbors Uganda continue to battle the latest Ebola outbreak in the country, neighbors, Kenya included, have remained on high alert, with line departments putting in place a series of measures to reduce risks of a spillover. The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers is, however, not satisfied with preparedness the government has put in place.
So we want to urge the government that we move with speed, sensitize, and ensure that we do the primary work that is supposed to be done in case of any case that we might get. Remember, it is very costly once it is in, but it can be actually managed if at all we start early before any case.
They want increased surveillance along the Kenya-Uganda common border points and also along the Western Transport Corridor, considered as one of the most at risk of a possible outbreak.
Vile ambavyo tumeweza kuona serikali za gatuzi na hata ile ya serikali kuu wamesema wako tayari. Lakini tukiongea na tukienda katika county na facility specific, tumerealize kwamba hakuna preparation. Yani check zile vitu zinatakiwa kufanya, kuangalia kama wagonjwa wana joto, wana tatizo lolote lile, hata zile entry points za kutoka nchi zile ambazo tumetamka wako na cases already hazifanyiki.
The union officials also want long-term strategic measures to ensure the country is well equipped to deal with future outbreaks of any kind.
And we don't even seem to have learned from the lessons of COVID-19. We have not been able to learn and try and curb the shortage of health workers that we saw really affected us after COVID-19.
The leader spoke as they inspected counties' preparedness to tackle the virus. Uganda has reported at least 7 deaths and at least 35 cases of Ebola virus infection. Kenya is yet to register any case of the virus. Achola Simon, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
On to corridors of justice now. A 36-year-old woman who had accused Agriculture Cabinet Secretary nominee Mithika Linturi of attempted rape has withdrawn her complaints, following a confirmation from the Director of Public Prosecution that the two parties are in agreement. The Chief Magistrate allowed the withdrawal and directed that the 200,000 shilling cash bail paid by Linturi be released.
Public prosecution confirmed to the court that the woman and Linturi, now an Agriculture Cabinet Secretary nominee, had agreed on the withdrawal of the case. Chief Magistrate Susan Shitubi allowed the withdrawal and directed the 200,000 cash bill paid by Linturi, as well as 20,000 taken from him as police exhibit, be returned to him. The state shall release to the complainant and prosecution witness mobile phones that he took from them and withheld for use as exhibits. Meanwhile, a petition by the Music Copyright Society of Kenya against Kenya Copyright Board Kekobo, accusing it of infringement and oppression, has been dismissed. MCSK had moved to court contending that they are not a collective management organization, CMO, within Kekobo, who they accused of infringing on its copyright rights and interfering with its operations under the guise of exercising oversight and control. Kekobo dismissed the allegations by MCSK, saying it was acting within the Copyright Act. Justice Anthony Mrima hence dismissed the petition, terming it unsuccessful. Seraphine Nairobi for Prime Edition.
Now, police in Nairobi are holding 3 members of a Matatu crew arrested for various traffic violations. The arrest follows a tip-off from members of the public after a video of 2 touts displaying their acrobatic antics while holding dangerously to a public service vehicle in motion went viral. The National Police Service has cautioned those keen on emulating such actions of dire consequences.
In the video that has since gone viral on social media, especially Twitter, 2 touts are seen displaying what the police term as dangerous acrobatic antiques on the moving Umwene Sacco Matatu. The incident prompting police to move swiftly and apprehend the suspects. Through its Twitter page, the National Police Service confirmed 3 individuals, including the driver of the vehicle, are in custody, awaiting arraignment in court for various traffic violations. While condemning the conduct of the crew that posed a danger to the passengers and other road users, the National Police Service cautioned Matatu Saccos to instill discipline in management of their fleet and punish any rogue individuals. The National Police Service, in partnership with the National Transport and Safety Authority, are undertaking a compliance exercise across the country to ensure conformity to traffic rules and regulations. The matatu in question is currently being impounded at the Buruburu police station, with the crew spending the night there, awaiting arraignment in court tomorrow. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
The legends and familiar chants will grace KBC once again.
Take on Tech, a weekly program that brings you technological debates and concepts. Let us assume we have a young innovator who has come up with an app.
Financial technology and financial services is a very complex game.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news both locally and internationally. Apple has lost its position as the most valuable firm amid tech sellers. We also explore different innovations by our very own young innovators. Make sure you don't miss. Tune in every Monday at 10:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Betsy hates me because I went to Skywall and stole Mars's diagrams, which then brought about his death. It's been so many years and she can't let go. Not after all I've done for you. If it weren't for me, there's no way you would have become the king.
You chose to forget me, not because I took your eyes away, but you wanted to forget what we had. The one you've been waiting for all these years is actually Mars.
Did he finally figure out that Echo was Betsy?
Whenever I come around and you don't want to see me, you always use the same excuse.
Do I?
Sitaki kujua kuwa ni mtoto wa mtu wala ni mtoto wa jiwe. La msingi sitaki kusikia hata jina lako likitajwa katika hii nyumba yangu.
Mimi nakwambia huyo Kaindi na ile tumbo lake leo tanikoma.
Kaindi. Ninge chooni kwani na maradhi chooni mimi.
Lakini starehe yako wewe kuja hapa na kusikia harufu ya choo. Hana iko wapi?
Sikuwa na raha walipokuwa wanakushuku.
Welcome back. You remember that it's 48 days to go to the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. We will be beaming those matches live from KBC here from the 20th of November to the 18th of December. Richard Munga will be joining us later on in the sports segment. Betty Kiptum will be driving the business agenda, and of course our sign language interpreter is Susan Thuku. Now, Parliament may be required to legislate a law that will define the roles of spouses of governors in the public arena amid uncertainty over their functions. The law as it stands does not define such roles, even though such persons have been enjoying certain privileges.
When governors in various counties get into leadership, their spouses seem to enjoy some privileges. However, questions arise as to how legit these privileges accorded to wives and husbands of county governors are.
The question about first ladies at the counties and first men at the counties and first ladies at the presidency and deputy presidency is purely traditional. That this person provides consort. It is more marriage-based, more traditional-based, not any statutory provision.
Lawyer Dunstan Omari says it is only out of courtesy that they have been given some peripheral roles under the governor's official duties, but there is no statutory provision to that effect.
We are elevating these position into a position that Parliament needs to properly put a law that stipulates what they can do and what they cannot do. And if people are going to pass that law, then these women called wives, these men called husbands must go to the ballot. Clearly, there is no law that provides for these people to exercise any public office.
Omari opines that only those in leadership should be involved in county issues, a move that will also assist in saving taxpayers' money.
You cannot attain a statutory provision to incur, to spend people's taxes by virtue of you being a wife or a husband. It is just respect. It is courteous. But we are now seeing it going further.
To guard against risks of excesses by governors, perhaps there is a need for a law that will definitively address this lacuna. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
The 13th Parliament is expected to start plenary sittings tomorrow. That's Tuesday, the 4th of October, 2022, at 2:30. Members of a National Assembly and the Senate expect a full entry, which includes discussing the President's speech and also constituting House business committees. Gishuki Washira reports.
Having been oriented and inducted for the last 2 weeks, members elected to the 13th Parliament will officially begin plenary sittings on Tuesday. In the National Assembly, the first business will be the adoption of a procedural motion stipulating the time allocated for debating the address by the President William Ruto, delivered in a joint sitting of Parliament on Thursday, September 29th. Later, members of the National Assembly will proceed to debate the President's speech for 4 consecutive sittings. The mover of the motion, who in this case will be the Deputy Speaker, will have 20 minutes. Each member will get 10 minutes to contribute, while leaders of designate parties get 15 minutes each. MPs will also consider adoption of a procedural motion stipulating the time allocated for debating bills sponsored by parties or committees, individual member bills, motions, among others. Ugunja Member of Parliament Opiyo Wandayi, who will be leading the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party in the National Assembly, says the opposition coalition will endeavor to put the government in check.
It does not really matter eventually how many of us remain true to our calling as members of Parliament who are not in a party or a coalition that has formed a government. We could eventually remain 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, or even 2. But the task that is ahead of us shall be performed. That is of keeping this administration on their toes.
In the Senate, MPs will consider a motion on approval of members of the Senate Business Committee and then witness the swearing in of nominated Senator Crystal Asige. Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for keeping it Prime Edition. Time to get the latest in the world of business. My name is Betty Kiptum. The government has exempted petroleum products from the annual excise tax inflation adjustment that takes effect this month. According to Kenya Revenue Authority Commissioner General Githii Mburu, the exception aims at holding the runaway high cost of some commodities such as food and fuel.
The Kenya Revenue Authority is this month expected to implement the annual inflation adjustment of excise tax as per the Excise Duty Act of 2015.
Ukiangalia bei ya unga kwa saizi imefika shilingi 250 kwingine 230 na hii ina affect kila mtu.
Those in authority to try to leverage and try to reduce the cost of living.
This comes amid public outcry on the high cost of living, highlighted by the rate of inflation climbing to a 64-month high of 9.2% in September, mainly lifted up by high energy and food prices.
The only category we are going to leave out are petroleum products because of the currently very high prices of fuel. So we want to support Kenyans in ensuring that that price of fuel doesn't go higher.
To ease Wanjiko's cost of living burden, the government has exempted petroleum products from the annual inflation adjustment of excise tax.
It will affect excisable products other than petroleum products. So all the other excisable products, we will make that adjustment.
I think it's a very good policy initiative. We support that very, very, very strongly, knowing that every Kenyan, every citizen has an obligation.
Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, President William Ruto says the government will streamline the affordable housing program to make home ownership a reality for low-income earners. The president says he will work with legislators and development partners to find the most viable formula of achieving an affordable housing plan.
President William Ruto said the government would target to construct 250,000 units annually through a public-private partnership that the developers are keen on. And on Monday afternoon, President Ruto was at the meteorological site Mukuru in Nairobi County for the inspection of the ongoing affordable and social housing project. Here, the president said the government's housing plan was premised on ensuring there is land, technology to build houses faster and in a cost-effective manner, and financing both for construction and mortgage.
I am certain that land will not become an impediment on matters of delivery of our housing plan.
He said the government is keen on ensuring those living in rented houses become homeowners through the rent-to-own mortgage plan, where those paying 3,500 shillings in rent will now pay 3,000 shillings as mortgage, and in 20 years, the houses will belong to them.
We have established the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company that will support the whole mortgage enterprise and backstop some of the challenges that will come with acquisition of mortgage.
President Ruto said the housing plan will provide decent shelter for low-income earners and create jobs, noting that Jua Kali and TVET institutions will be engaged in mass production of doors, windows and hinges, among other products.
We intend also to grow enterprises, the people who will make for us doors, the people who will make for us windows, hinges, and all the other construction products that will be required for us to complete these houses, including windows, window sills, and everything else that will come along.
He appealed to legislators to support the Housing Fund Bill to help the government provide cheaper mortgages and enable millions of families own homes.
For the first time, Your Excellency, the fund is partnering with government to do developments in the scale necessary to address the nation's housing needs.
Dota Mokami for Prime Edition.
Now, fodder farming is now becoming a popular venture in Kenya as the weather becomes more erratic around the world. The concept is becoming more popular in Kenya after suffering huge losses due to drought and the high cost of animal feeds. The government has partnered with the International Livestock Research Institute to help in the development and distribution of new breeds of grass that can withstand dry weather.
Kenya is undergoing one of the worst droughts in living memory, leaving close to 10 million Kenyans severely exposed to hunger in more than 20 counties. This has decimated close to 2 million livestock in pastoralist communities. Apart from the drought, the COVID-19 pandemic and tough economic conditions have made a bad situation worse. The dry condition have also made dairy farming challenging due to lack of pasture, with milk production dropping by more than 30% in the last 9 months. The government and the International Livestock Research Institute have partnered to educate dairy farmers on the importance of fodder farming.
Targeting these farmers, we also believe that they are the right people to implement some of the things that we are training here. So coming to this region, it's like we want to create an awareness that we have different types of forages that can do well in these ecological zones.
ILRI is helping in the areas of research and distribution of high-quality seeds that can withstand dry climatic conditions. Fodder that requires less rainfall compared to conventional crops such as maize and does not require the application of chemicals to sustain. Various research activities are being carried out at the Kapiti Research Station. These include livestock productivity through bioscience and integrated science programs. In Machakos, dairy farmers have been trained on various methods of fodder production.
Saa zingine chakula inaisha. Wakati mvua inachelewa, ile store ulikuwa umeweka, hiyo chakula inaisha. Na inapoisha, inakuwa ku-access food outside from our area inakuwa ni ngumu. Kwa hivyo sometimes you are forced. Pengine uuze ng'ombe sifungue. Kama ulikuwa na ng'ombe 6, unapunguza.
The farmers are now appealing to the government to help develop a long-term solution to further challenges in the area to deepen dairy farming in the country.
For a very long time, farmers have been unable to achieve optimum production due to high cost of feeds and lack of knowledge. But from lessons learned today, we hope they increase their sales and production. Reporting for KBC Channel 1 from Machakos County, I'm Terry Njenga.
Thank you, Terry, for that report. Now, Kenya's foreign exchange reserves are facing major threats from the deteriorating Kenya shilling and rising import bills. The Central Bank of Kenya says the reserves that stand at 4.64 months of import cover have come under stress due to expensive commodities like oil and freight costs. This has forced the International Monetary Fund to provide emergency funding to countries facing food price shocks under an emergency credit facility.
Kenya is among the countries cited by international lenders due to its risk exposure to the global forex reserves crisis gripping the world economy. The country has seen its import bill jump to 2.23 trillion shillings in the 12 months to March 2022 against export earnings of 789 billion in the same period. The Central Bank of Kenya says through the forex reserves are well above the 4 months official cover to stand at 4.19 months as of September 29th. Thinning export margins and high commodity prices are stressing the reserves. A statement from the Apex Bank has said the official forex cover now stands at 890 billion shillings. This comes at a time when the board of the International Monetary Fund has established an emergency fund to support struggling economies in the world. The facility seeks to boost the forex reserves of countries facing acute famine to help them pay for imports. The emergency fund temporarily increases existing access limits assigned to a member country. This allows them to borrow up to 50% above their IMF quota under the IMF's rapid financing instrument and the rapid credit instrument launched in 2020 to help low-income countries. IMF says 345 million people across the globe are facing starvation due to a combination of climate shocks, the pandemic and regional conflicts that have disrupted food production.
But I will leave you with the foreign exchange report to just know how the currencies are performing. From myself and the rest of the business desk, good night. Here's the...
Well, of course, as you've seen there, we have 47 days until the 2022 FIFA World Cup, of course, courtesy of your True Sports partner, that is KBC. I'm Richard Munga with the latest in the world of sports. On our top story tonight, national women's volleyball team Malkia Strikers returned home last night from the Netherlands, where they took part in the ongoing 2022 FIVB World Championship. The 9-time African champions were bundled out at the group stage of the Global Showpiece after registering a single win against rivals Cameroon.
Malkia Strikers' journey at the World Championship in the Netherlands came to a halt on Saturday after losing by 3-1 to Puerto Rico in their last Pool A match. Kenya finished 5th in Group A to miss out on a top 4 place that would have guaranteed them a slot in the second round for the first time in history. European champions Italy, Belgium, Netherlands and Puerto Rico qualified for the second round from Pool A. Kenya's only win came against their African rivals Cameroon, who finished bottom without a point. First rising Sharon Chepchumba was Kenya's top scorer with 66 points, while debutant Veronica Adhiambo was placed second with 50 points. The 16 teams which have qualified for the second round will be divided into 2 groups of 8 each, with the top 4 teams in each group qualifying for the quarterfinals.
Meanwhile, Mombasa-based ICT expert Fahmi Bajaber beat a field of 200 golfers to be crowned DTB Golf Tournament champion at the Nyali Par 71 golf course in Mombasa County. The bank will be hosting 3 other tournaments before this year ends, that is in Eldoret, Kericho and Kisumu.
Fahmi Bajaber emerged victorious after beating a field of 200 golfers at the Nyali Par 71 golf course in Mombasa County. Playing off handicap 13, Bajaber garnered 44 Stableford points after carding 21 and 23 points in both 9 to take the day. The club's former chairman Dinesh Sasan, playing off handicap 13, was the men's winner on counterback score of 41 points after tying on the same score with handicap 22 Tom Soigwa, who was the runners-up. JC Patel playing off handicap 26 and 39 points and handicap 17 Ali Isaac on 35 points were the best seniors and juniors winners respectively. DTP Director Sales Dr. Kennedy Nyakomita of Muthaiga Golf Club playing off handicap 20 scooped the staff prize after returning 30 points. In ladies category, Janet Wasika emerged the winner in handicap 32 after carding 41 points.
Well, started off shaky, but managed to collect myself together and had a very, very good round of golf. Yeah, so I played 4 over gross, which is way under my handicap because I'm currently handicap 13. So I'm looking forward to lowering my handicap to a probably single handicapper.
And we're very happy to be associated with this brand with the red color. Bringing out 185 golfers on a day like this was an exceptional number.
This was the DTP's second golf tournament this year, having successfully hosted a similar event at the 72 Paul Kakamega Sport Club. The bank will be hosting 3 other tournaments before the year ends in Eldoret, Kericho and Kisumu. King Orimwangi for Channel 1 Sports.
To other matters now, a total of 213 registered shooters, including 4 international shooters, have confirmed their participation in the second leg of the Level 3 National Practical Shooting Confederation event that is set to be held this weekend in Mombasa County. The shooters, ranging from civilians to members of the disciplined forces, will participate in the event organized by the Kenya Shooting Sports Federation and Bamburi Rifle Club. The participants in the National League event are Oscar Tapera from Zimbabwe, Silhavi Eric from Zambia, Vinduska Vaclav and Simbrek Lucas from the Czech Republic. The event is expected to set the ground for KSSF to lobby for the international shooting body to grant Kenya and Africa to host the Level 4 Championship. Meanwhile, NCPB and Ulinzi Handball teams topped the Men's National League standings with 22 points after the weekend matches. Black Mamba, who defeated Spartans 48-20 yesterday, are third on the log ahead of Strathmore and GSU respectively. Spartans tail the standings without any point after losing all their previous 8 matches. JKUAT lie in the 9th position after beating Desert Scorpion 34-28 over the weekend. Nairobi Water tops the women's table on 18 points, 4 ahead of Ulinzi Sharks and NCPB respectively. Net Navigators are 4th with 10 points after defeating Kenyatta University 30-24 yesterday in a match played at the Nyayo National Stadium. Globally, Karim Benzema missed a late penalty as Real Madrid dropped points for the first time this season when they were held to a 1-1 draw by 10-man Osasuna at the Bernabeu. In Italy, Juventus beat Bologna 3-0.
In tonight's English Premier League match, Leicester City will be aiming to recover from their 6-2 thrashing by Tottenham Hotspur when they host Nottingham Forest at the King Power Stadium.
Well, quote unquote, for me, it's time to say goodbye. Of course, those are the words of Argentine international Gonzalo Higuain as he announced his retirement soon to come at the end of this season. Remember, he plays in the United States, that is in the Major League Soccer. So for all the football fans, of course, thanking Higuain for, well, wonderful years of football. And as the update said, we have Leicester versus Nottingham Forest coming up in the EPL at 10 p.m. Also, let's remember that the Champions League returns tomorrow. You have Inter Milan taking on Barcelona, and also you have Liverpool taking on Rangers. Those are but a few of the matches that are expected to be played tomorrow. Well, I'm Richard Munga, but don't forget that for all the sports updates, remember to stay tuned into our subsequent bulletins. Do have a good night. But for now, Tom Boyer, take it away.
Thank you very much, Richard Munga. Of course, he did remind us that it's only 48 days to go to the 2022 FIFA World Cup that's going to be taking place in Qatar. Of course, you don't have to take a flight to Qatar if it's not possible, because we'll be airing all those matches that will run from the 20th of November all the way to the 18th of December. World Cup, Eco KBC. So I want to thank our team here, and thank you also for watching. Tomorrow is another day. Good night from Nairobi, Kenya. My name is Tom Boyer. Bye-bye.
If you are a holder of any unclaimed financial assets, surrender all unclaimed financial assets in your possession to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, today without having to pay interest or penalties. Take advantage of the